Can I have something to eat? One day, a homeless man came to the bento shop where I work. I gasped when I saw the old man. It turned out to be my younger sister, whom I hadn't seen in 6 years. With her white and ragged appearance, she looked like she was not 17 years old. What was going on? I couldn't hide my surprise and immediately invited her into the shop to hear the story. It couldn't be. What was told there was a shocking truth. My parents were strict and did not allow me to go to school to play or go out on weekends when I was in junior high school. After class, I came home without taking any detours and helped out at home every day. The child who struggles early on wins. It's for your future, Kana. I believed that the words my mother repeated were my parents' love. I have a younger sister named Reina who is 7 years younger than me, and taking care of her was also an important role. On nights when I couldn't sleep, Reina would always come to me and sing me songs. I patted her back and watched as she closed her eyes as if she was relieved. The only time I spent looking at that praying face was the only healing for me. When I became a high school student, my parents' attitude changed as if their strictness up until then was a lie. When I said I wanted to work part-time with my friends, they readily allowed me and told me I didn't have to do any housework. However, when my first paycheck came, my father took most of it away. If you don't like it, quit. Instead, you'll have to be a housewife. I didn't want to be tied down at home. I decided to continue, but the time I spent with her was reduced. As a way of making up for it, I bought Reina a stuffed animal of her favorite character with the little money I made from my part-time job. She was so happy that she started to sleep with it every night. One day, she drew a bitter face of me as a thank you for the stuffed animal. Thank you, big sister. The picture that King Alexis presented to me was so well drawn that I couldn't help but laugh at how much she had grown, so I decided to give her a small picture notebook on my next payday. I was happy to be able to do something for Reina, so I continued working part-time for 3 years. Then, on the day of my high school graduation ceremony, when I came home, a man I didn't know, who was about the same age as my father, was sitting there. From today, this man is your husband. He owns a lot of real estate. He will surely make you happy. It was so sudden that I was speechless for a moment, but I quickly retorted, "What are you talking about? I'm only 18 years old. And it's not up to you to decide." Quote. My father then raised his voice, saying, "What are you unhappy about? You will never get another chance like this." Quote. The man also glared and got angry, and seeing that, I decided that I couldn't discuss it and just ran out of the house. My work was highly evaluated at my part-time job, and I was scheduled to be hired as a full-time employee after graduation. I was worried that my parents might show up and cause trouble, so I consulted with a senior who knew the situation well. "I'm sorry. I don't think I can come to work anymore. Can you tell them I'm quitting instead?" I was introduced to a live-in job far away, and I worked there for 3 years. The senior who was kind to me at work was from the same hometown, so we became close, dated, and got married. We returned to the prefecture where my parents live and started a small bento shop together. Business was going well and our days were peaceful, but somewhere in my heart, my younger sister was always bothering me. However, I had no way to contact her directly, and remembering the furious look on my parents' faces, I didn't have the courage to go back home. A few years later, one day, Grandma Lo appeared at the entrance to the store where I work, wearing tattered white clothes. "Can you give me something to eat?" I thought she was a homeless person, but the moment I looked at her face, I gasped. "Reina, you're Reina, right?" I leaned over and asked, and the woman curled up. However, she looked at me intently, and with tears in her eyes, she muttered, "You're my sister." She was so small and skinny that it was hard to believe she was 17, but it was definitely my younger sister. Why did she look like this? I ran over and hugged Reina's trembling body. After that, I led her into the store, served her a hot meal, and after seeing that my sister had calmed down, I asked her about the situation. "My father told me to get married quickly for your sake and suddenly brought a partner." I said I didn't want to. Just like with me, my parents ignored her wishes and tried to force a settlement. Then one night, the man suddenly came to my room while I was sleeping. I was scared and ran away with nothing. Reina ran away from home without any questions and continued to live a harsh life for several months without any destination. As a result, her head was white and she was in a tattered state. After hearing the story, I felt the anger I had been suppressing rise up all at once and my body trembled. I will never forgive him. I will make sure he settles the score. I took my sister to the hospital and protected her after a detailed examination. Then I went to a certain place and got what I needed to make sake. A week later, I was standing alone in front of my parents' house. The place I had been in and out of so many times before no longer felt nostalgic or warm, and it seemed cold, like someone else's house. I turned off the light and stepped into the entrance, then I walked down the hallway and opened the door to the living room with force. My parents were sitting side by side on the sofa in front of me, and the moment my mother saw me, she frowned. "Kana, what are you here for?" My father, who was next to me, also had his eyes wide open, but his expression soon turned grim. "You're so damn good you showed up before. Do you know how embarrassed you made us?" The words that were being said to me seemed to pierce me sharply. I couldn't believe they were directed at my family, who I hadn't seen in a long time. Still, I took a deep breath and looked straight at the two of them. "I came to see Reina." They froze for a few seconds as if taken aback, looked at each other, and then snorted. That child would have been a long time coming. That's already a great asset, Ota. Unlike you, you listen to your parents obediently. I was grateful that we made him happy. I silently opened my bag, took out a stuffed animal, and pressed the switch on its back. The next moment, a worn-out but clearly audible voice echoed through the air. "What do you think you raised her for?" Her father's voice next door said, "If you go to that house, your future will be secure." Her mother's high-pitched voice continued, "How long are you going to keep that filthy doll? If you get married, you'll be able to buy anything you want." Quote. Then came my sister's sobbing and screams of pain. "It hurts. Stop it." Her weak repeated words of, "I'm sorry," told the depth of the wound in her heart. The stuffed toy was a gift I gave to Reina when she was a child. It was a toy, but it had a simple lock sound function and could store about 5 minutes of sound. At the time, I was busy with my part-time job, so I always recorded a little song that I sang to put her to sleep and gave it to her. While my parents hit her hard, my sister held it desperately and endured, leaving evidence of her concentration. That girl is happy. I don't think that's the case at all. When I laughed sarcastically, my father glared at me with a straight line. "Hey, why do you have such a thing? Reina is with me now." I returned a cold gaze without any expression. At that moment, the expressions of the two changed completely, and their eyes changed color and they stood up. "What? Give it back now. That girl is our daughter. Don't mess with me, you're doing something on your own."
My
Excited parents confronted me, but I faced them proudly without doing the same thing. "You were planning to make my sister suffer the same fate as me. You just wanted money to make things easier for yourself, saying it was for the spirits. Are you still my parent?" Since I was in junior high school, I have been forced to do everything around the house, including cleaning, laundry, and preparing dinner. If you think about it, it was for the so-called bride, who would improve the conditions for her to be picked by the rich. The reason why I was allowed to do part-time work and said I didn't have to do housework was to take my salary and use it for their living expenses.
What? Do you think how much we put in and raised her with love and care?
I just wanted to use that girl instead because things didn't go the way I wanted. They were anxious because their plan to make their daughter a bloodsucker had fallen apart when I ran away from home. They quickly set their sights on another rich man and controlled her so that she would not rebel like me, and if she resisted even the slightest bit, they would tell her to reflect on her actions and lock her in a dilapidated storage shed in the garden. I felt a surge of regret and my heart tightened when I thought of her alone and scared in a dark and damp place. Like me, Reina was forced to do housework every day, but even when she became a high school student, she was still forbidden to work part-time and was not even given a smartphone or the means to get one herself. Still, my sister was trying to somehow record the concentration she had been made into a fisherman using things around her. "What do you know, you who abandoned this house? It's rude of you to know our love better than anyone else." My mother snorted and leaned back proudly. I wonder. We mothers were just tormenting that child. I took out a notebook, opened the cover, and slowly read aloud. It was a picture I had given my sister as a gift a long time ago, and it contained the things she had been done to by our parents, along with the date. The day she was not given anything to eat. The title, "The Night I Was Beaten and Locked in My Room," was accompanied by a normal scream. The trembling letters and tear-stained ink showed how cornered Raina had been. Everything you did to her was written here. You can't deny it. When things at home were so tough, I would write my feelings down on paper to calm myself down. I also told my sister that I would write them out and look at them when she was in pain. I guess Raina remembered those words. Even after I left my parents' house, she continued to write her thoughts in this picture diary. Layla left them behind. It's a good proof that her parents hit her. The stuffed animal and diary I sent were treasures to my sister, and they were hidden away in the back of the storage shed where she couldn't see them. I had asked Rena what time our parents usually left the house, and I would sneak in and retrieve them. Just as she said, the storage shed was messy and unlocked. Hearing the end of the world, they showed their emotions again, and my father's face turned red. He forgot the king. Hey, where is the spirit? If it rings, I'll definitely make her marry me. That's right. You're making the other party wait. It's not too late. The deal is done. My mother also screamed hysterically and slammed her hand on the table. Even after all this, the two of them still hadn't given up on getting my sister. I sighed with a disgusted look on my face and shook my head in exasperation. That's it. I've already settled on the marriage partner. My parents' expressions changed, and my father opened his eyes wide and said, "What?" in a trembling voice.
Oh, you met that person?
I had heard the name of the person I rejected from Reina. He was a wealthy man well known in the local area, and I could easily find his address if I looked into it. That night, the man who suddenly appeared in my room was confused by his income and expenditure. Right. I felt something was wrong with that story, so I somehow persuaded her, even though she was reluctant, and we visited her house. He was surprised by the sudden visit, but when he saw my sister, who was shorn of gray hair, he listened to us in silence. I played the voice of the stuffed animal and had him read the whole diary. Then he understood and apologized. Apparently, the man had already been explained by my parents that he had already obtained the consent. He had been told by my parents that my daughter wanted to meet him, and he had visited the room as it was. He bowed deeply many times, saying that he was also responsible for believing those words and acting on them. When the man found out that my sister had been made into a parent, he was there, and the truth was revealed, and the marriage talk died in a flash. He was also very angry about what my father did. He said he was considering legal action. I looked into my father's face and gave him an awkward smile. He was very angry at the way my parents had deceived him and the negotiations that ignored his will. When my father heard that, he turned pale, and my mother covered her mouth and was at a loss for words. If we do that, not only will our plans be ruined, but our lives will be ruined. I handed him the medical certificate from the hospital as if tossing it in front of him, who was shaking with his head in his hands. The diagnosis and the painful photos clearly proved that they were bad children. This is the last piece of evidence. With all of this, it's enough to report them to the police. The moment I told them, they panicked, got on their knees, and clung to me with tears in their eyes. Please don't do that. Please. We regret it. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I'll do anything. No. Please. I shook off their hands with all my might. It's over. They will pay for the crime of tormenting my precious sister. Having lost their place in the crowd, they collapsed on the spot, slumped on the floor. There was no longer any peaceful future left for them. After that, I reported it to the police with the evidence. As a result of the investigation, the parents' actions were deemed to be serious, and they were to spend some time in. I welcomed Rena into my home with my husband and we began a new life. My sister received regular counseling and gradually healed her heart. Eventually, she began helping out at the bento shop and recovered enough to work at the store. Rena, who was already a popular girl, became the store's poster girl. Thanks to this, the number of customers increased and the store's reputation improved even more. This time, I will cherish and protect this peaceful daily life that I have finally achieved.